Hey guys, what's up? It's Sla. And today I have for you another episode of Car Rides with Sla. There's a lot I think I could talk about actually. I was thinking multiple things and we're back. Everything's back. The peace and tranquility from yesterday is a thing of the past. I'm not going to start with more talking about presidents because I have a feeling you guys are over that. I don't even know if anybody in my audience knows what a president is, let alone who they are. So forget it. I might get into it later if I feel compelled to, but what I was just thinking about is how I kind of noticed as I got older, I always thought I was degrading a little bit in terms of my mental fidelity. I just felt like in the past I was able to have this patience to think about things a lot extra than I do now. I don't really know what it is. I don't know if it's true or not, though. I'm not sure if it's actually true that that has occurred. It may not really be the case. It's just another perceptive thing. Because in other ways now, there's things that I'm able to do that my past self probably would have thought was lazy. That's not what I meant to say. There's things that I do now that I would have been too lazy to do in the past, and then probably vice versa. I wonder if that's just a thing where the brain kind of calculates what's most efficient or relevant to do and kind of adjusts accordingly. As you age, you get a greater understanding, and that ends up changing the way you deal with things, etc. I'm not sure exactly how to put into words what I'm explaining, but I just felt like I've become a bit more shallow. Just when I got older, I don't think my mind really goes as in depth as it used to with things. I mean, there were times in my life where I really would be just totally in depth, totally deep. I'm not sure whether it's a good or a bad thing, though, because I think it's probably a better thing. It's kind of nicer to just be a little bit more of a balance, be a little bit more laid back. And I still have my deep moments. Don't get me wrong, I still have my deep moments. It's just that overall, I don't think I'm as locked in as I was when I was younger. And it is what it is. It's a observation, simple yet true, I suppose. And there might be a better way to word this, but this is all I got right now. That's all I got. Now, what I was actually just thinking of, and I had dealt with a lot before, and I wanted to get my thoughts down about it, is just how I notice a lot of the times when I'm communicating with people, I get pretty upset over certain things. And I wasn't really sure why, but I'm realizing I have a very good ability to come up with the right words and to say things in a polite way or a good way. It just kind of comes like automatically. I don't really know how else to describe what I'm saying, but it's just, if I'm given a prompt or a situation especially, I just can like come up very quickly with nearly the perfect words. And I noticed that a lot of people are particularly bad at that. And it's just I think it's been a problem because I'm expecting that somebody would just be able to come up with the right words, and then they can't. And I'm assuming that it's at my skill level, and it's not. And I guess I'm projecting that out and having that expectation. Other people are going to be like me. And I don't know. I didn't really think I was that special for a lot of my life. And I think that has something to do with it. I never even thought I was good at communication until recently, which I think I'm good at private communication. I don't know how great I am at, like, you know, I'm not super popular. You know, I can't, like, navigate social groups and social settings and things like that super well. I don't really like it. But in terms of if you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me or my conversations with friends, family, or relationships, I do think I'm pretty unmatched. I don't know that I've actually ever even met anybody who is better at communicating in those type of settings. And I'm not saying this to be arrogant. I'm saying it to be accurate because I think I've undersold myself for a long time, and it actually causes a problem. Like, me being humble has actually caused negative situations because I inaccurately undershoot myself and my capabilities, and then I end up feeling better about letting other people do things or giving other people the benefit of the doubt when I shouldn't. And so it's actually not good. Being humble, I don't think, is always good. I think if you actually have a genuine skill for something, it's important to assert that. That's not something you should just shy away from because you're trying to be humble. I mean, if people are jealous, people are going to be jealous. That's not going to change. Doesn't matter how humble I am or not. Some people still just hate you. If you have something good to offer or you have a good skill in a certain way, people are going to hate you for it. There's always going to be envy. But if you don't assert it, you're making a worse reality. You're preventing a better world because you're not expressing your gift and pushing it and putting it out there. I think a thing I think about a lot is this idea that typically the smarter people are quieter. They think about things. They realize oftentimes it's not worth it to argue, to try to assert, to try to domineer, because they know it won't work. And so they just become quiet and they just don't really get involved in things. However, the people who are unwise really speak up. They really get loud. They really get domineering. And over time, this has a compounding effect that is not good. Because now the people who are smart and should be domineering and showing leadership are taking some kind of a lazy, easy road out because they know it's difficult to stand up for what's right, but they don't because they think it's not worth it. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that notion. I think that if somebody's smart and knows that they have the correct perspectives, they really do need to be loud and vocal, specifically to try to drown out the ignorant or the dull noise that is already usually there. There has to be some kind of balance. And a lot of wise people, they don't bother to speak up. And they don't really do anything about it. And yeah, it's not a good situation. That's for sure. It's just not. And so that's just something I haven't said before on the show, but I want to get it down because it's definitely something I believe pretty strongly. It's important. Now, of course, the whole issue with that is the people who are ignorant, they actually think that they're not the ignorant ones a lot of the time, and they are speaking on authority, even though it isn't actually there. Nobody who acts like that is thinking that they're the problem, essentially, is what I'm like. No, but everybody thinks that they're right, and that's the problem. But I think what ends up inevitably happening is that smart people end up being a little more self-critical, being a little more shy, being a little more self-conscious, etc. And it ends up causing a lot of problems. And those issues compound. They compound by each generation, really. But what I was getting to is when it comes to being vulnerable, talking about feelings, especially in those intimate settings, it has really become undeniably evident that I am just able to come up with words and statements so much faster and with so much more polish than anyone. Now, of course, to me, even when I say that, it doesn't really feel comfortable, because I don't want to say that and then it's like, oh, well, I made a mistake this time, I made a mistake that time. Like, yeah, I'm a human, and so to me, in my perspective, I'm aware that I've made communicative missteps before, and so that's why I don't really think of myself as that good. I think a lot of times people's perspectives of themselves is a little bit blurry, because to me, I never really felt like anything I did is special because it's all normal to me. And then when I have expectations on other people, I realize it's the reason why I'm getting upset is because my mind is moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour and theirs is moving slow. And again, this is not to be, oh, I'm better, because it's not all better. There's definitely a lot of struggles that come with having a fast mind and a fast tongue, especially when you're a part of a social species where the main and primary advantages are about conformity and adherence to the average. It's not all good. And that's a really relevant thing to point out, right? I've always noticed that people think being smart is an automatic advantage. It's not. Being smart comes with its own trials and tribulations and challenges. It's not easy. Whereas if you're less intelligent, you actually have less to think about. Life is easier. You're probably closer to what is supposed to be the case for operating within a material realm. I think humans bridge the gap between the animal and the spiritual. And so people who are extremely intelligent are dealing with things that are out of this world, that are not directly present in our day-to-day physical material. And that's the problem, because it's difficult. It feels trapping. It feels isolatory. And that's a lot of times why intelligent people have to isolate, just to retain their sanity. But I always wanted to, I really want to try to be the person to change that. I want to try to have some kind of wisdom or depth, but really put it out there, because a lot of people do not. A lot of people get caught up in the misery. And I was too. I mean, I was pretty miserable for a long time, especially when I first started working and was getting used to working. Not fun when you're used to just fooling around all the time. I've gotten used to it, though. at this point. I mean, it's still a little bit, like, I'm not thrilled about it. I'm waiting for the day my podcast takes off, and then I'll be able to quit my job and focus on what I was really put on this planet to do. But I know that that's all going to take time, and I'm not the type of person to even do that. I think I'll probably stay at my job for a while, unless it becomes like exceedingly evident that I need to just pursue my thing. I'm usually pretty slow to make decisions like that. Now, I do make a lot of impulsive spending, but again, the impulsive spending is surrounded by periods of a lot of saving. So there even is a balance with that. Like, I save a lot. Last year around this time, I was buying literally nothing. Like, I literally was buying nothing. I was saving almost every last penny that I made. To put it in perspective, now, this year, 2025, I'm blowing a lot of money on a lot of this equipment and technology and stuff that I bought. But there's still a balance in that. Because you had one period, one season where I was reaping, and then another season where I sow. And I think it might be hard for people to understand because it's bouncing from extreme to extreme. But I do think there's balance to that. I think there's finding a middle road. Absolutely. I don't think it's unbalanced. I don't think it's bouncing from extreme to extreme. I think it is balanced, and it is good. And that's just my humble opinion. You're welcome to disagree, but I think it's fair. I think it's reasonable, and a lot of people don't acknowledge me for that. They just think I'm crazy. But I'm realizing that recently, that it is very difficult for people to come up with words, to come up with the right words, and it's something that's so easy for me. I come up with the right words. It doesn't even take too much time. Like, I do it on the spot, which is a whole other thing. A lot of times when people are a wordsmith, they need to write. I don't write. It just happens, and I just very quickly come up with a very good response. I'm obviously also inherently verbose, which means I'm talking a lot. I say a lot of words automatically, which helps. Now, for some people, it's not too helpful because I overload them with words, and I think I could be redundant a bit. I have gotten that criticism before, but I'm not really trying to think about that too much because I really am trying to just be, like, I have to own who I am. If I listen too much to other people and try to change things, I'm going to ruin my whole brand. I'm going to ruin my identity. And I don't know if that's for the better. I think the way I speak is very detailed, and I shouldn't have to reduce that because somebody doesn't feel like listening to a lot of words. It just seems no bueno. Just seems very no bueno. So I think that's possible. I think to work on conciseness, but to not reduce verbosity. Verbosity? I'm not sure. I think that's something I think is tricky when it changes. Assertion, assertion. You guys remember that episode? I still never looked up the answer, by the way. Verbosity, verbosity. Am I just making up words? But that's just something I didn't have awareness of. I didn't have awareness that I was good at speaking or good at coming up with words in a way that other people can't. Other people, like, they try to talk, and there's just nothing really is there, and it might take them time. They can't figure out the right word to say the right thing. And I'm just fortunate that I have the vocabulary that I do. It's actually interesting to think about that. Having a poor vocabulary is like being stuck in a prison. Because if you don't put in the work to learn words and learn how to express and use them, it ends up severely inhibiting your ability to speak how you feel. And I think it's something I take for granted because it's never anything I put a particular amount of effort into. Like, I don't know, I never really tried to be better with words or anything like that. I never thought I was particularly good with words or had a particularly good vocabulary. But as I've talked to people more, I've realized that my vocabulary is definitely much further above average than most people's. Now, I still have blind spots. Everybody has blind spots. There's certain words that I'm not familiar with that another person is, and stuff like that. It's also important to keep that context in mind. Everybody has, it does not matter how smart you are, like, there's always going to be something you can look at and say, hey, you know, Schla's not smart. He didn't know that. But everybody can do that. Everybody's able to do that kind of, like, everybody makes mistakes, and even if somebody's good at something, they're going to make a mistake. I think it's important, though, that I'm coming to the awareness of it, especially now, as I'm doing the show, and how good and healing the show has been. Again, it's similar to a diary, but it's not. For me, a diary would just never last. It couldn't. It wouldn't. It shouldn't. I'm fooling around a little bit now, like that. That wasn't. It's just not me. I mean, speaking always has been my thing, and it's just been very healing and therapeutic to have a consistent outlet. And it's in some ways it's better than a conversation because it's recorded and it's something I can go back and listen to. I mean, a lot of these episodes, I obviously have the goal of I want my words to be medicine. I want to be able to heal others through my thoughts and words. But the truth is, these videos are sort of for myself. They're not necessarily for somebody else directly. I think people might have some crumbs that they can hear and might strike them and resonate to some extent. But at the moment, with the way the views are, this is not being done for other people. It's medicine for myself. I think that's a very important step for me, just in general. But I know where it's going to end up. I know someday I want to be able to help people and things. I think I always wanted to have some kind of a therapy service, but I don't know that I'm really meant to pursue the orthodox way of doing that. I like going to college and going through, like, I just want to have this, you know, you can get therapy from me for, you know, whatever amount of money. I don't even know what I'd charge, like $20 an hour. Something, I mean, especially for now. But I think I would be good at that. But I don't know about going through the whole organized, like, I just don't know if that's really my calling. I think my calling has always been, I've just been odd. I think there's probably a reason I didn't end up in college, despite now realizing I should have, and it's actually extremely strange that I didn't. Like, something is deeply wrong in society that somebody like me went through the public school system and was never particularly noticed was never particularly acknowledged, and I was just allowed to slip through the cracks. I think it's very telling. And I'm not the only one. I know there's other people like me that just slip through the cracks. And society should be very ashamed of that. Now, as I've said before, I don't know how angry I can be, because as long as my good luck and good fortune holds, I'm not rich yet, but I should be eventually. And my life's been, I mean, it's great now. It's, again, besides money, but there's nothing wrong. And I'm sure I'm better off than a lot of people. And that's really that. There's not much else for me to say. I mean, does it really pay to complain right now? No. A lot of the things I'm upset about are standards that are arbitrary as far as I'm concerned. Me feeling like I'm not good enough and I need to be all this stuff, when a lot of people aren't even thinking like that, and they're just fooling around. Like, I actually am way ahead of a lot of people. The only way I'm not is career. Like, my career I don't think matches my worth at the moment. Like, my soul's worth. Because I don't know that I've done enough yet to prove that. And I'm hoping this show is going to be my proof. I've finally found the thing that is easy for me. It's comfortable for me, but it looks and it is effort to others. And it is. I think I'd already described that before. To me, doing this is easy. It's not that hard. I don't know what else I would do. I could listen to music. That's what I used to do. But I would still, even when I would listen to music, I would end up talking to myself for periods of time in my car. But it gets to a point where It gets to a point where it's just automatic. It's very easy for me to set the mic up and do all this stuff. And a lot of people, I realize too, because this is what I was thinking about, like, right before I left the house. They wouldn't do this, and they wouldn't have gone through the extra effort to get the microphone, which I'm so happy that I did. But it's also, I think, the speed in which I executed everything. I think that deserves some credit, and there's history to show that. It's recorded. I came up with this idea, and I'm not sure exactly when, but it was definitely only a couple days before the first episode. It was not that much earlier. I don't know, like, specifically which day it would have been conceived, but if I had to guess, that first episode was a Friday after work. If I had to guess, the conception of the idea probably took place, I really want to say, no earlier than Wednesday. So it could have been Wednesday or it could have been Thursday. And I was thinking about the idea to do the Car Ride podcast probably Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then I just decided to do it Friday. That was the trajectory. And it may not have been Wednesday. It may have just been Thursday and Friday. It's hard to pinpoint and remember. It may have just been Thursday, Friday, boom. And then I was doing it for a while, and then I immediately thought of the microphone thing and ended up purchasing it very quickly. I obviously bought the correct equipment too. Like I didn't think I overspent or anything like that. I bought the right stuff. I was able to research, get everything together, get the right interface very quickly. And I think to a lot of people, they just wouldn't have been able to do it and pull it off in such a short period of time and get used to it with all the technical glitches and things I had to deal with. I don't know. I just think it deserves recognition. I know this episode, it's been a lot of self-hyping, and people may listen to that and be like rolling their eyes. But no, I think it's good. I think because really nobody's noticed anything I'm doing yet. And it's, I at least need to pat myself. Like, nobody's patting me on the back, but I at least have to pat myself on the back. Like, I do think it's notable that I'm pushing out 6 hours of content a week, and this is the third week of me doing it, I believe. I mean, we're almost going to already be at a month since I started the series, which is, I don't know, I just think it says a lot. It says a lot, and if I'm able to be consistent with it, that's super important. I guess I haven't been mentioning it because I don't really see what the point of mentioning it is, but I am going to go on vacation soon, and so that is going to mess up the car VCs. I don't know, I keep calling them car VCs, the car rides with Schla, because I'm going to be gone for a week. But it's okay because I actually baked into things a week in advance on purpose because of that. So then we'll just be caught up to the present. Because up until now, everything's been getting uploaded a week behind. So then once I go on vacation, it'll just equal out and become on time. Somebody got pulled over. Now, when I usually make it through this light, then the next one catches me, but it's holding green. Very nice. Well, I can't believe where the time went. As usual, these are just so enjoyable for me to do. But it's already time for the TLDR with Schla. Today, I don't really remember what we talked about first. I think really a way to sum up this episode was just a gist of my own mental goings-on about things. And actually, we're going to pause the TLDR with Schla because I got hit with a red light. So there's still things to talk about. There's still time to talk. So pause the TLDR with Schla, because if I don't pause, I'm going to be sad because we're going to have missed additional time I could have been talking. So it was a weird... I mean, the light really snagged me. I'm not really too happy about it because this light's kind of long. But I'm making okay time. So not good, not bad. The time I would have made would have been more on the good end, but now it's just going to be more on the okay end. Actually, it still might be... Yeah, we're making good time. I think I'm being a little too hard on myself. All right, but now it is time for the TLDR with Schla. Today we talked about some things I've been feeling and thinking about. We went in the past to how I thought about when I was younger versus now, making that comparison. We also talked about, I don't know, just things I've been feeling, patting myself on the back for what I've been doing, the speed, mile per hour, etc., etc. You don't want to miss it. Anyways, Schla out. Bye, Schla.